Dead by Daylight's The Casting of Frank Stone released just about last year under the guise of being a story created for the Dead by Daylight universe. And boy, did some people not pick up on that properly. Typically a lot of not great reviews were the same ones that were people who had about 6 hours on the game and also had a very basic understanding of the DBD lore. I hate to say it that way, but as someone who has definitely understood the DBD universe and what things mean now, I can confidently say that if you watch this video, or at least the segment that I'm going to dedicate next here about just flat out why it is that way and why this game has so much in it that people can't seem to appreciate for some reason, I'm going to be talking about that a lot today, because the casting of Frank Stone, I played 100% of it, and I can confidently tell anybody that this game is amazing. It is a representation of the Dead by Daylight scheme of story. It is a literal manifestation of what it looks like to be in the story of Dead by Daylight. It is like a being in that world and experiencing that through a survivor's eyes and through their lives. And we get to meet Augustine, who's an amazing character who tells us a lot about how much the entity's been doing and how long it's existed for. She is a gateway to so many new things. She is amazing as a villain. She is the game's amazing, mysterious character that you meet in the beginning cutscene, or at least the second cutscene. She is incredible. I will be talking about her as well. Let's just get into it.
The CIA's got this secret lab called Leary's Memorial Institute where they use it for enhanced interrogation.
I guess I just would love to take this idea and run with it briefly, just because it's interesting to talk about how this Murder Mill movie could have been since, the Doctor. It could have been incepted at the Doctor's existence, and the Doctor is likely come into contact with that cursed film, and Augustine might even have had a hand in Doctor's acquiring of that film, possibly. She might have even made that deal, because we're seeing Augustine is the overall servant of the entity that kind of is the physical manifestation. It's not just the emotional manipulation that we see in the beginning from Maddie on the plane. It's not just how she talks to Maddie or how she tries to skate around how she already knows Linda, even though Linda's clearly caught on to the fact that Augustine's a bad person. She is just all these different levels of the villain that the entity has never truly been before. And she showed a new path of how long, or not just how long the entity's been around, but how long things have been serving it in that way. Because Augustine has a painting of artist, and that concludes that pretty much Augustine has been not just telling Stan some of these secrets, or at least Stan has known some of these secrets, but that they're probably true. Because it doesn't make sense that Stan would know such a factoid about this, and then it would suddenly have no bearing on the history of how long Augustine has existed now. Because if Augustine knows about Herman Carter, if Augustine knows about all these different lore characters, like, for all we know, she cut the brakes to the nurse's ambulance in her lore, who knows? Or we could have possibly seen her in any of the other person's lores. Who knows? Maybe she was one of the rich people benefiting Evan McMillan, aka the Trapper's dad's company. She might have been one of the benefactors. That could totally have been a secret facet of her that we never knew about, that she was funding Evan McMillan's, eventual downfall. That could have been a thing as well. Like, these characters probably interacted with Augustine without knowing it, and without us knowing it by proxy. And that means she's been a villain longer than we could have ever conceived, and has a far bigger potential for the story, and also just generally proves that the the Frank Stone game has a lot more to do with the past than it does going forward. And I think that's amazing because the best of the DBD story is mostly in the past. And revisiting it and finding out more about it seems like the best choice to do if we're going to continue it at all. Because I don't think people want new story. I think that's pretty much not wanted. We want to see the similar stuff that was very Tomish, very like just random memories, like how the fog is supposed to be. It's very like reminiscent stuff. We're supposed to feel like we're in these people's dreams, kind of like in a nightmare. That's how it should feel to play Dead by Daylight, pretty much, is to be in that feeling. And I feel like that having a story aspect was a piece of it for a long time, and having a killer like Frank Stone be able to be backed up by these things might genuinely be one of the best like killer prop-up stories. I think this killer has a great tale of woe, truly. He starts off as a immediate villain. You cannot like this character. He tries to kill the baby in the beginning. That's so bad. Like, you cannot like this character at all. So he immediately becomes a villain. He is a bad character, and then when he becomes that thing that he truly is, a bad character, a bad human being, that's when he becomes the entity's new tool. That's when he levels up to that point in the entity's eyes and is like, yeah, I respect you. I respect your game, Frank Stone. I want you in my trials. And I think we want Frank Stone in the trials because he fought hard for it. We watched him fight hard for it. We watched the survivors fight hard to have this epic story against him to make him super compelling and really give some character and some depth and some lore to this killer that we could have. And I think on a skin, that is wasted. That is a opportunity to play out a better idea of a character iteration. I think Frank Stone is a amazing gateway to that. And I think the biggest pieces of it that we're missing is these little tiny blurbs and Easter eggs that really imply more than people have realized. Like the Leary's thing. I started an entire rampant crazy thing, but the truth is all of that is real. Like that stuff is probably real that Stan knows because he's getting that information from people who know things from Augustine, probably, if anything, because no one would know about Leary's. No one would know. It's just also damning to see that Augustine knows about characters that she would never know about. She clearly would never have come into contact with a character like the Huntress. I know these items technically don't count as a lore thing, and that people say these are references, but to an extent, they are a piece of her lore. Implying that Augustine has come into contact with these characters implies that she has not only done that, but been serving the entity for as long as those characters have been around. Because Augustine would have had to have a hand in some of these characters' creation if she knows about them. That just is the only thing that would make sense in that scenario. Because, for instance, it honestly kind of is adjacent to the fact that she has a Frank Stone mask in the same room as all the other killer memorabilia. That is basically telling that she considers him a killer. She considers all the other characters her creations as well, just as Frank Stone was. So if she kept Frank Stone's mask, there's no telling how many times she's kept a memento of something she did for the entity, and that implies hundreds of things. Hundreds of Augustines over hundreds of characters and stories. Who knows? Maybe in the future she made Gabriel Soma's Hux Corp. Who knows? That could be a thing. She could have founded Hux Corp because she's a billionaire. Because she's a fucking cultist and, has access to, like, anything, basically. She has access to anything. She's immortal and unstoppable, and she could have done anything. So she could be responsible for every original chapter, hypothetically. And more likely, realistically, she did. Had a hand in it. Or have a hand in it. She really has all of these links tied to her. And there are some things that are blatantly just references, but there are other things that are blatantly implying more. There are things that are blatantly saying, hey, Augustine and Frank Stone might have been involved in these things. like, the Doctor has seen the Murder Mill movie. We know the Murder Mill movie played at Greenville Square. We don't know what happened at Greenville Square because of that. We know that people go into a murderous rage when they see the movie. That's all we know. So we have to just imply that maybe that like film has something to do with why the unknown exists. Maybe that could even be another part of it. Like, it's another thing where you just have to start thinking about, well, Frank Stone's film is cursed. His character is a cursed object, basically. He exists because of a cursed film. So his character exists in a million realities where every other character exists, and therefore could have a hand in all of their stories, whether it's Augustine, Frank Stone, or just any of the characters in general. They have a chance to have some relation again because DBD opened a multiverse when they did the ending of this game. The ending of this game is a metaphorical opening of the realm of possibilities. It's pretty honestly genius. I loved it. I love that way they did it. It felt like they really were explaining it in a perfect way. And I think another big thing, since it's the end of the video and I'm going to kind of say the things that happen towards the end of the game that are more, important, these are some of the big ones. Like, these are these moments where Frank Stone will act like a killer. He will have a entirely killer-esque thing happen in his personality or his behavior, quite literally. Like, he will have an identical animation to the killer. He wipes his weapon in the final scene. He does that. He goes in a first person and stands by the campfire just like all the other killers do in the main menu of Dead by Daylight. He does that too. And it says, "Let the final trial begin," when the game ends every time, implying that he is about to do a trial and that he's done them before, according to the dialogue of all the endings of all the other survivors, saying things such as, "It's no use," and "He's here, now we can begin." It is literally implied that Frank Stone has been doing trials for a long time now in the fog already. By that point, he has been in there for a while. He just needs a fair and genuine iteration of his character, because he was propped up on some of the most true to DBD lore I've ever seen. If people can't see him in this light, that's okay, but I want people to understand that it doesn't mean he should be reduced to just a skin. That just isn't fair. That is not fair, because he was designed to be a killer. He had a entire design as a story character to become a killer in this game. That is literally the point of him. His entire story was built for this reason, and I think to make him a skin would basically be to sell his purpose for nothing. It is truly, well and honestly, the one thing I want to see change, and if they do, I will buy it. I will literally tell the world. I will ring the bell like a dude on a horse and go through the town and just say, "Hey guys, we're getting Frank Stone as a chapter," and I'll be so happy, and my life will just swell with joy knowing that the DBD lore will be preserved in one way forever. Because if they are never going to do the lore again, just make Frank Stone. He's a perfect representation of the DBD lore from a history standpoint, like a knowledge standpoint, from a references standpoint, from a lot of standpoints. He is the perfect, ideal character to reference the DBD story within the game. And so is Augustine. If she were to become a character within the game, she would either be one of the coolest survivor skins ever, or characters, or she would become one of the best new lore characters ever, becoming a storyteller-esque character with unlimited knowledge of the entity's doings and what it's capable of. That would make her an amazing character to promote her to this level as well. I'm just spitballing some of the better ways they could implement these things in the hopes that they'll actually, take some of these ideas and maybe run with them. DBD's in a patch right now that I know that they're going to recover from, because I've seen them recover from some tough stuff before. I played the winter event. That stuff was pretty tough, and it's just sometimes things happen. It's not a perfect game. I'm looking forward to some of the things they do in the future, hopefully, I just want this thing to be one of them. I want the casting of Frank Stone to be a Dead by Daylight chapter because, frankly, it is one. It canonically is one in its own game that they made, and they have the characters. Behavior said it themselves. I'm pretty sure that they're original DBD characters, so they wouldn't even be making a licensed chapter. It would technically be an original chapter. And also, I'm going to call them out on this one. I think this one's pretty shallow. Just because Frank Stone's chapter, if he was a killer, would be $10, doesn't mean it's okay to sell it for $15 as a legendary skin just so you can make a profit. That's scummy. I'm gonna say that because that needs to be said. I think that's dumb to get a few extra bucks because you don't want to make a chapter. That is literally just painful. That is painful to see, and I want you guys to not make us have to feel like we need to shut up about this game, because you guys made it. It was amazing, and the people who said it was bad were only people who either didn't play it more than one time and didn't experience what it felt like to like replay it and actually feel the difference, and people who just didn't like it because they liked Supermassive games as their own thing. And I saw that. That's the only two negative review varieties I was seeing. That, or someone would just be nitpicky and say, why didn't they do this in this scene? Why didn't they do this and this and this? It is the story it is. You cannot complain that it is the way it is. You can complain about the game design. You can complain about that, but I saw so little of those that I'm just convinced that the only people who do have that issue just struggle with, like some monitor issues. Like, it's pretty uncommon to really have a bug appear on that game. It got a bad rap, and I'm just pissed at this point, trying to get someone to frankly be on board with this game again and appreciate it for what it really was and what it really means to the DVD community from a lore standpoint. What's behind the curtain for the entity's longevity and reach. Like, it's impressive. It is a flex of power when you watch Augustine's segments play out. She feels unstoppable once you've played the game for the first time, because you just know that she can't really die. There's an achievement for shooting her. She just comes back. She will come back. She is Afton in the flesh. She will just come back. It is truly amazing to have characters that are a unstoppable villain equating to the entity's power, or even just serving under it. That is a new villain. That's amazing. I want to take advantage of that. And Frank Stone is a killer. And the characters being in the fog. There are several endings. Chris, and I believe Linda, almost every character who ends up at the campfire at the end of the game implies through some line of dialogue that it is not their first time at the campfire in those endings. Meaning that they actually are in the fog and have participated in a trial. Meaning that these survivors belong in the game currently. They are meant to be in the fog somewhere. Maddie, Linda, any character that made it to the campfire can be in Dead by Daylight. They have that ability. Thank you for your time. I know this is a bit longer, just like the last one, but I am just absolutely trying to put my heart and soul into trying to make this happen, because there is frankly no one else who's going to do it, and September is coming, and they said that skin was coming in September, so, this is it. This is the time to make your voice heard. Thanks, everyone.